Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley if you're new here, and today I'm going to be doing my very belated January wrap up. So I definitely took a bit of a semi-unintentional YouTube hiatus, so I haven't posted too much in the last few months, which means I'm very behind on my wrap-ups. However, I did read 20 books in January and 17 books in February, so I really want to do wrap-ups for those months, even though they feel like they were forever ago. So in January, I read 20 books, 7,638 pages, with an average star rating of 3.87, which isn't awful, especially since I read 20 books. I feel like that's a pretty decent rating average. I broke the books down into 5 different genres. I have romance, fantasy, thrillers, general fiction, and nonfiction. I just have one nonfiction though, but I really loved it, so I'm excited to talk about it. Since these were from January, I'm hoping I don't have a completely awful time trying to remember my full thoughts and feelings on the books, or even just trying to come up with a synopsis. I hope isn't too annoying. So I'm sorry if some of these are just very brief. I do have my star ratings for all of them, and I should have some sort of thoughts about the books that I remember, even if they are extremely brief for some of these. So the book I'm going to start with, I think was the first or second book that I read of 2025, and it is a reread, and that is Daydream, which is the third in the Maple Hills series, which starts with Icebreaker. Like I said, this one was a reread. I gave it 5 stars, and at the time I just wanted to read something that I already knew I loved, the tropes that I liked and the characters that I already knew and loved, so I knew I wanted to reread something. And I initially read Daydream, I believe in September of 2024, and absolutely loved it. I don't know if any other books in the series that come out after this could top this one for me. This one is a hockey romance. In each of the books, we follow one of the guys from the hockey team at this university. So in this one we have Henry, and I've wanted to read his book since the very first one when we met him in Icebreaker. And I'm so happy that I did end up loving his book. And our other main character, Hallie, I absolutely love her. I feel like I have so much in common with her. I can really relate to her. So I highly recommend Daydream. Again, 5 stars. I liked it even more on the reread. This might even be a 6-star book for me. I would just really recommend it. The next one, we are continuing on the sports romance situation, and that is Spiral, and this is the sequel to, what's it called? It's not Spiral, Collide. So Collide is the first one and Spiral is the sequel. This one follows a rookie NHL player who's having some issues with his game time performance. It doesn't really go too deep into the actual hockey aspect. It's not very big, so they don't dedicate a huge amount of time to the actual hockey playing, if that makes sense. We have 2 main characters in this one. We have Elias, who is the NHL player, and then we have Sage, who is our other main character. She is an aspiring professional ballerina. Both of them have very complicated family lives. They're both struggling professionally, and one of the tropes in this one is fake dating, which I absolutely love. So I would really recommend this one if you like fake dating. It's a good, fluffy, with some deeper elements romance that I loved. Oh, and I gave this one 4.5 stars. Okay, the next one is also a hockey romance, but I swear it's the last one, and that is Unsteady, and I absolutely love this one. I gave it 4 stars. This is another college hockey romance, and I really love this one because it does go deeper than, say, Spiral, which I just talked about, while still staying kind of into its fluffy romance genre situation. So I really like this one. I really liked our 2 main characters. However, since I read this one, I have read the sequel that came out, I believe in February, and I think I like that one more than this one. I'm not sure, but I still really did like this one. I just don't really remember much of it. Lastly, for romance, I have The Lodge, and this one I gave 4 stars. This one was very cute. I really liked our main character. She is a ghostwriter for celebrities, and she is tasked with writing the memoir for a member of this really popular older boy band. So to write this memoir and be kind of more stress-free and in a cozier environment, whatever, they put her up in this lodge, and she's in the penthouse suite. However, then she meets her next door neighbor on the penthouse floor, and he is a local. He's a ski instructor. This one was really cute. I really did like it. I do remember I felt the pacing was a bit off with this one at times. Some of it was really slow, and I didn't really care about some aspects of the story, but overall it was 4 stars and I did like it, and I would recommend it. So the next category is going to be fantasy. And since it was January, I of course did read Onyx Storm, which just came out at the end of January. I really loved Onyx Storm. I gave it 5 stars. I know a lot of people didn't like Iron Flame. I loved Iron Flame, but I know a lot of people didn't, and I understand why. I can see what they're saying. I can see what their issues are. I just didn't have those issues, but I can see them and understand where they're coming from. And in my opinion, I feel all the issues people had with Iron Flame were like non-existent in this one. Like this book was very much what people wanted Iron Flame to be like. We really got to know a lot of like side characters and I absolutely loved their personalities. I feel like there was a lot of character growth for so many different characters in this book and I really loved it. I don't want to go too much into it just because there is like a very low threshold for a lot of people with what like counts as spoilers for like super popular hyped up series, so I'm not gonna go into this one. This one is the third in the Empyrean series, which starts with Fourth Wing, so I'm just gonna put this down and not talk about it any further or anything about the synopsis. Next, I read The Crescent Moon Tea Room, and this one I gave 2.75 stars. I didn't love this one. I would maybe even lower that to 2.5 at this point because I couldn't even tell you what happens. I believe it's three sisters, they're witches, they own like a tea shop and do like tea leaf readings or something. I'm not 100% sure. I don't even remember what happens after that. I love cozy fantasy. I love like cozy witchy books. I love family cozy witchy books. So I'm kind of disappointed in this one and yeah, 2.5 stars. I think if you wanted something similar to the premise of this book, there are a lot of other books that I would recommend over that one. And next I finished Fellowship of the Ring. I'm so excited that I finally have read this one. I read The Hobbit last fall and then read The Fellowship of the Ring. And then in February I finished The Two Towers and then right now I'm reading Return of the King. But for the sake of this video, I finished The Fellowship of the Ring and I really loved it. This one I gave I think like 4.5 stars. I want to say. Obviously it's like a classic. I have loved these movies since I was so little. I went and saw the first one in theaters with my dad when I was like, I don't know, I would have been 9. So I've loved the movies for such a long time. I've talked about the series in so many of my videos, like TBRs, vlogs, wrap-ups, just because I've been reading them for so long now since like last fall. So I finished Fellowship of the Ring. Great, wonderful. Moving on to the next one. And lastly for fantasy, I did finish Kingdom of Ash. And this one absolutely like broke me, tore me apart. I think I spent the last hour of reading this like in complete and utter, just like, I was distraught. I was absolutely distraught and I loved every moment of it. I loved how the series ended. I don't think I would have changed a single thing of Kingdom of Ash. In fact, like I could read like 1,000 more pages of this. Some people say it's too long and like I don't agree. I could read 5 more of this size just in the last book for Throne of Glass. So I absolutely love this. No notes. 6 out of 5 stars for me. Absolutely loved it. So the next genre I'm going to talk about are thrillers. And I'm going to be so honest with you that so many of these just like have bled together in my brain. Like I'm reading my list of books that I read in January and I see some of the titles and I'm just like, I could not tell you what that even is about. So bear with me here, but these might be very brief. First, I'm going to start off with Frida McFadden's book. It was new at the time, and this one I gave 4 stars. It's called The Crash. I always say I love Frida McFadden's books and like thrillers. They are very much like popcorn thrillers. They're very easy to get through. If I'm feeling slumpy, I'll pick up a Frida McFadden book like 100%. This one definitely wasn't in my even like top 5, I'd say, of her books that I've read, but it was like okay, I guess. I mean, I gave it 4 stars, so I guess it was okay. Basically, this pregnant woman gets stuck in a snowstorm and then she goes to this like nearby house to ask for help and then everything just goes like awry. So it was very entertaining. It was very like fast-paced and thrilling, like all Frida McFadden books. And I would recommend it, but I would say wait until like next end of fall, beginning of winter when it gets like snowy. And then I have My Perfect Daughter. This one I gave 3.5 stars to. I could not tell you a single thing about this book. I have no idea. I just read the synopsis for this and like I honestly don't even recall reading this. So I have nothing to share about this one, but I did give it 3.5 stars. Next is No Place Left to Hide, and this one I gave 3 stars to. And I was really looking forward to this one because I read this author's previous book called That's Not My Name, which I gave 3.5 stars to. And I was really looking forward to this follow-up book, which is not at all related to the first one. This one is a YA thriller, and I do love like a spooky YA thriller from time to time. And like I said, I gave this one 3 stars. I don't remember a single thing about it. But yeah. Next, I read The Note, and this one I gave 3 stars. This one has to do with some friends in the Hamptons, and there was a note left on the car windshield. I do remember struggling to get through this one. I was bored at times, but overall it was like fine. It was okay. The next one I read was The Bedroom Window, and this one I gave 3 stars. I remember this one was very creepy, like very creepy, but I don't know much else about it other than that. It was very spooky. By the way, these are all very much like psychological thrillers. Some of them are like psychological domestic thrillers, and this one is very much like psychological domestic thriller. Oh, and then I read the new Lisa Jewell, and this one I gave 3.75 stars. It's called Don't Let Him In. I normally love Lisa Jewell. This one did fall a bit flat for me in terms of just Lisa Jewell's books in general. 3.75 stars is not a bad rating at all, especially for me with thrillers, but this one did disappoint me a little bit just because it is Lisa Jewell, so my expectations were very high. Okay, I actually just double checked and I gave this 4 stars. I didn't absolutely love this one like I did her others, but this one is very much like psychological thriller, domestic thriller elements. It's also giving like family secrets, family drama, and I'm always here for that in these books. I would really recommend this one still, but it's definitely not like my top 3 favorite Lisa Jewell books. And this one comes out at the end of June. Lastly, for thrillers, I have The Perfect Home, and this one I gave 3.75 stars. I remember this one was very fast-paced. It's very short, and it definitely kept me from getting slumpy near the beginning of the new year. I think this one was actually like the first one I read of 2025, and I did feel like it set me up for like exciting books for January. Like I said earlier, 3.75 stars for thrillers is not a bad rating for me at all. Just in general, 3.75 stars is not a bad rating for me. So I would really recommend this one if you like domestic psychological thrillers. This one says it's Fixer Upper meets Gone Girl. So if that appeals to you, then I would highly recommend this. Next is the general fiction category. So the first one I have is The 3 Lives of Kat K, and I think that's what it's called. Okay, no, it's The 3 Lives of Kate K, and this one I gave 2.75 stars. I was so excited for this one. The premise sounded super interesting to me. It's an author who finally decides to come forward with her true identity after like a really long time of just being kind of like a mysterious hidden author. I was really looking forward to this one. The way the book is written is very interesting. However, I just felt myself getting very bored and just like I was not invested at all in any aspect of it. I didn't care about the characters. I was very much aware the whole time that like I was reading this book that I didn't really like, and I never felt like I was sucked into the story, and there was never really any moment that I didn't feel like I was kind of like trudging my way through this. Next, I read a book that was extremely highly anticipated for me, and that is A Sea of Unspoken Things. I love Adrienne Young's other books that I've read, which were The Unmaking of June Farrow and Spells for Forgetting. I loved those ones so much, so I was super excited for this one. This one I gave 4 stars, and it didn't totally live up to my expectations, but it was still very interesting, and it kept me like really engaged for a lot of the time. This one just says, a woman investigates her twin brother's mysterious death while coming to terms with her own haunting past. She has to go to this rural town where she has to settle his affairs, and she starts looking into things, and she's very suspicious of his recent death. It just kind of goes from there. I really like this one. Like I said, I didn't love it as much as The Unmaking of June Farrow or Spells for Forgetting, but I did really like it, and I would highly recommend it. Next, I read My Husband, and this one I gave 4 stars. This one was very interesting for me. It was very different from things that I normally read. I think this one is literary fiction. I remember there were times where I actually like laughed out loud while reading this because our main character is just like so absolutely like out of this world, unhinged, kind of delusional. And I'm just going to read this quickly. It says, in the suspenseful and darkly funny debut novel, a sophisticated French woman spends her life obsessing over her perfect husband, but can their marriage survive her passionate love? I would really recommend this book. This one is definitely for the people that like to read like weird girly lit fic. I really like My Year of Rest and Relaxation, and I think if you like that one, you might like this one just because the main characters for those are both very like delusional, weird, unhinged, odd people. And then lastly, I read The Sirens, and this one was more magical realism than general fiction, but I just threw it in here, and this one I gave 4.5 stars. This is by the author that wrote Wayward, and Wayward was one of my favorite books of 2023. 3, I think it was. I absolutely loved it. It was an amazing book to me. It probably is in my like top 10 non-fantasy favorite books of all time. So this one I was very nervous for because I didn't know if it would live up to my expectations. It's very different from Wayward. It has a lot of similarities, but it is just very different and a lot more weird than Wayward. But I did give this one 4.5 stars, which made me very happy that I didn't absolutely hate it just because of how high my expectations were. Same with Wayward. We have main characters from 3 different generations, not necessarily related. So we have twin sisters, Mary and Eliza in the 1800s. Then we have Jess in 1999. And then we have Lucy in 2019. This one is, yes, heavy on the magical realism, very odd, kind of weird. There was a time while I was reading this pretty early on where I had to just kind of like accept that this was going to be weirder than I was used to, especially like leaning into the magical realism aspect. However, I wouldn't say just because you liked Wayward means you'll like this one, even though there are similarities. I definitely wouldn't say that as just like a flat out statement, but I would really recommend it if you like kind of like weird magical realism. Lastly, I have nonfiction, and this one is Over the Influence, and this one I gave 5 stars. It's JoJo's memoir, and I grew up loving JoJo. I loved her music. I remember hearing a long time ago there was like all these rumors that she wasn't able to release any more music after a bunch of her hits because her record label like wasn't allowing her to release new music under their label, but they weren't letting her get out of her contract and move to a different label, so she was kind of just stuck. And it was just like this tragic story of this like young singer on the rise that was just kind of like stomped on. So I was very excited to read this book and kind of like see what actually happened and see if those rumors were true. I'm not going to go into like what happened. She does start from like her young age and go up to present day. I really loved it. I would recommend the audiobook. I got an advanced listener's copy of this. She narrates her memoir and it was just amazing. If you're interested in reading this, I would highly recommend the audio. And I will say you get a lot of answers to questions that you may have had over the years if you were or are a fan of JoJo. Those are the 20 books I read in January. I'm so sorry that some of them had subpar reviews from me in this video, but I tried my best to remember what I could. I definitely want to stay more on top of my monthly wrap-ups. I love doing them, but once I got behind and then just kept getting further behind, I was very overwhelmed. But I'm really excited to be filming this one in February and March and getting them out because I just love talking about all the books that I've read. Thank you so much to everyone that watched this video, especially if you made it to the end. I appreciate every single one of you, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!